You're Canadian,
I am. Yep.
and your parents were. Your father was in the diplomatic service.
He was a career politician. My father came over with his family from the UK when he was 14.
Mm.
So my grandparents fought in the war, the Second World War, and then they immigrated to Canada. My mother's Indigenous, so her people have been in the Yukon Territory in Alaska for tens of thousands of years.
And that's where the name Tamil comes from.
That's where it comes from. Yeah, yeah.
Does it have a specific meaning?
It does, but I don't often share it. I haven't really shared it with the public. Yeah, but it's Tahmoh. It's funny because it's become Tomo. It's about the only thing people can say. But when I go back home, my family all says it properly, and I always love it. It always brings me a lot of joy when I hear people saying my name the right way, the way my family says it.
When and how did you get the acting bug?
Tony, I got the acting bug early on. My father was actually he had a theater company when he was in university,
Hmm.
and him and his theater company was called the Compact Six, and they put up over 30 or 40 productions. Like it was a successful and busy theater company, and he was a playwright. He was very committed and passionate about the arts at a young age. Now he was done that by the time I was born, but I always saw the poster of him, with 60s hair and all these good-looking 60s cats, and hearing these stories, and I was so curious about it. And one thing my father did do, he was always a workaholic, but he took me to a lot of film, and I'd hear him critique it, and we'd see the cinema together. And even in the small town that I grew up in the Yukon, we had two movie theaters, and it was always one of my dad's things. We go to the movies together. And I remember just staring up at some of these actors on the screen, shooting in different exotic locations and playing instruments and, being action stars and just, doing all these many different things, whatever the genre, thrillers or comedies or horror, and just being fascinated that this person on screen was able to take this journey and play a different character. And I knew from a young age, staring up at this massive screen, that I wanted to be there, that I wanted to do it, that I wanted to tell stories like that, and to live that life. Yeah, whether I could get out of the Yukon and do that as a young man, I wasn't sure, but it was definitely a dream of mine from a young age.
And you worked very hard on that dream. I mean, you took classes and all.
Oh yeah, I studied for years.
Yeah.
Um, I studied for years. I knew that, like in Canada, if you're in Western Canada, at least if you have any hope of, having a career in the film business, specifically television and film, you've kind of got to go to Vancouver. It's one of the major film hubs of the world. And I went traveling when I was in my late teens, right after high school, and then I made a point of moving to Vancouver. And I searched around and I found out what one of the best acting schools was. And at the time, that was Gastown Actors Studio, and excellent school. A lot of notable Canadian actors have come out of there, including Barry Pepper and Martin Cummings, and just some really, really excellent actors of that generation came out of there. And I I got some excellent training earlier on, and then one of the teachers from there went off to do another school called Lyric, and I
Hmm.
followed her there, and I studied with her for years, and I just committed myself 100%. I was taking up to 3 scene studies a month and training and doing everything I could to try and succeed. Because one thing that was clear to me, Tony, Vancouver being such a film city, there was a lot of people that I was competing against who had been acting since they were a lot younger, and they were very talented, and they were more skilled than me. They had the experience, they had the training, and I just realized that I had to work that much harder to sort of mitigate that. And anyway, I was very blessed, and the big break for me in the beginning was getting Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit, but the Canadian film industry is about the best there is. I mean, I love the stuff that comes out of Canada and always will. I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about Battlestar Galactica, but you were in Stargate. One of my dear friends is Richard Dean Anderson, and
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
so I used to go up to Vancouver and visit the set.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, that was one of my first gigs.
Yeah, how did you earn your SAG card?
My SAG card, I eventually got my SAG card when I got Dollhouse with Joss
Ah,
Whedon. So I was still doing Battlestar, but because Joss Whedon wanted me for the role, um, he's since departed now. But our line producer, Harvey Frand, was this incredible man. And Harvey had been around since the early 70s, and he
mm,
was one of the best in the business. But he was kind enough, with the other executive producers, of course, to release me, even though we were filming our last season of Battlestar, to go to LA to shoot the pilot
mm.
for Dollhouse on Fox. And then, they just wrote me out of a bit of the story, and then they allowed me to go down. And I'll tell you, you would think that that wouldn't be a big deal, but it is. Most networks and television shows and creators aren't going to inconvenience themselves extremely by taking a main character out of the storyline so that they can go off and do another show. But because the show was coming to an end and everybody knew that it was, because it was such a loving and respectful and collaborative anomaly, and that's what Battlestar was. That's what happened. They said, Tahmoh, go down, do this. This is a big opportunity. This could be a big show for you. And they allowed me to go down there. So I think that's when I got my SAG card.
Well, your character on Battlestar Galactica was certainly beloved. I mean, is the rumor right that you were only supposed to be in one or two episodes, but they extended you?
Yeah. So the story, as I understand it, was a lot of people haven't seen the miniseries. The miniseries was excellent. Originally, it was filmed. It was going to be a 4-hour miniseries. They cut it down to 3 hours, and I had a cool role in it. He's very much a heroic role, but he was the character who ends up giving his seat away to the planet's genius, and heroically dies on the planet as it's being bombarded by nuclear holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually went out, all the actors who were supposed to be in the boot camp, all the young actors, we went out and we did a military boot camp for like a few days, 2-3 days it may have been. We got a real sense of the camaraderie and the how essential it is to look out and keep six for your unit and your partner. Many of the exercises were specifically targeted at the characters who were playing heavily together. Grace Park and I played as a unit. She was the pilot. I was the electronic communications officer. And honestly, I think it was the last thing I shot. We had this epic scene where I'd give up my seat. We had hundreds of extras out in the field, Vancouver. And, Edward James Olmos, who's like an idol of mine and always has been. I've always admired his career. And I was so nervous around him, but he came up to me when I shot this amazing scene with Grace where I'm basically saying goodbye. I've given up my seat. I'm injured in the leg. I watch her fly away. And Eddie came up to me. He's like, kid, they're going to bring you back for this.
This portion of Screen Chatter is presented by VP Dental. Check out our great dental plans starting at just $16 per month.
I'm old enough to remember, Tony. I'm 47. I remember Battlestar. I remember the original. I remember watching. A lot of people forget though that it was one season.
Yeah.
I remember it. I remember the action figures, and I remember being right into it and really enjoying it because I loved everything sci-fi at the time. Star Wars, and that was big for my generation and my age group. But I remember when I saw the title, I was like, "Oh, really? They're going to do a remake of that? That's really interesting."
Yeah.
But I had you understood fully once you read the script,
Yeah.
how different this was, how different the tone was, that this was something that hadn't been done yet. It hadn't been done before. It was exceptional writing. It was raw. It was scary. It was ugly. It was, and the parallels were easily drawn with the contentious times that we were in. Early 2003, 2004, and where we were headed with war and everything that was happening in the world that day. So, you understood early on that this was going to be something very different.
Not only that, and very relevant. I mean, it was just perfect timing for that. And Glenn Larson, who created Battlestar, it was a neighbor of mine here in Utah, and
Wow.
his daughter Carolyn and I are still very good friends, and they were
Wow.
so proud of the new show.
They were, huh? Well, they should be, because that's Glenn's baby. He created all the idea. All of that it's really genius. It's really, really genius when you think
Did you
about it.
know that it's based on Mormon?
I
Yeah.
do. And you know who, when I found that out, I think it was actually Jamie Bamber.
Mhm.
I was at a convention with Jamie early on, and Jamie, if you've ever interviewed him or been around him, Jamie's he's an Oxford graduate. He's an incredibly intelligent man. I love Jamie, but he's very,
He's a
very smart.
man of letters.
Yes, he is. And sometimes he'll just drop some stuff, when he's at a convention. He'll just speak. He'll give this little. He'll just speak on some subject out of nowhere, and when he's done talking, everyone's kind of just left going. But he gave me this whole history of the Mormon religion and how Gary had come up with this idea and what have you, and that hadn't actually been shared, or it hadn't been articulated so eloquently and so thoroughly as Jamie Bamber could do until that point for me. And I was blown away. I was like, wow. Again, just kudos and so much respect to the Larson family and Gary for coming up with such a genius idea.
Are you surprised at the love that the fans have for you when you go to these conventions and just see a sea of people standing in line just to grab an autograph or shake or just tell you they love you?
I'm just incredibly grateful for it. I've been doing this now, Tony, for almost 20 years, the
Mhm.
conventions. And it was hard for me in the beginning because I didn't understand the exchange. And it felt cheap. It felt rushed. It felt fake. I'm talking in initially my very
Sure.
first few conventions. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand how to pace myself, and I didn't understand the culture. I didn't understand the culture. I quickly began to understand it and then also appreciate it. And I have so much gratitude for the fans who come out to these things because they keep us employed. They watch everything we do. They are there sending you positive notes and encouragement when you're not doing anything. They're still talking about things that you've done many years before. And I'll tell you, for any actor, it really means a lot. And I have so much love for the fans in that capacity. When you go to these conventions, it's my opportunity to give back to them because I see how happy it makes them. If I can have even a brief moment, maybe it's a smile and a handshake and quick conversation, but I see the joy and the love that it gives them, and it's a reciprocal thing, and I'm all about that. And to this day, and for many years now, I look forward to conventions, and I know how to pace myself and not grind myself into the ground, because it's hard. It can be hard meeting 1,000 people. It can be hard meeting 500 people. It's exhausting. It's exhausting
Yeah.
because you're trying to give a little bit to everyone. But I pride myself in the fact that I want to connect with each and every one, as brief as it may be.
Let's talk a little bit about the caliber of actors you have been blessed to work with, from James Olmos to Emily Deschanel in Devlin, Ohio. I
Yeah.
mean, what an education that must have been for you on set, just to be around those incredible and all with different acting styles.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, just on Battlestar alone, like Battlestar, you have to understand Eddie and Mary, between them at that point, were pushing 30, 40-year career. They'd started early in their 20s. And, as a woman in the business, when Mary started, Mary McDonald, like she was, that's a tough game. It's a
Yeah.
tough gig. Eddie is a Mexican American, very tough gig, starting off. It's a testament to how good each of them were to have such a sustained and lengthy and robust careers that they had, considering the amount of work that they both do and the quality of their work. They're known. These aren't actors. These are actors. These are theater actors. Eddie's a 7-time Tony Award winner. The Tony Award is, equivalent to an Academy in theater. It doesn't
Sure.
get any better than that. Eddie's, Mary's an Academy Award nominee, as is Edward James Olmos. Michael Hogan, who was one of our other main characters who played the XO in Battlestar. Michael Hogan's a legendary Canadian actor. He's done everything in theater, radio, film, television, film. He's a legend, as is his wife. So you were acting with vets who, just by watching them, you would learn so much. And after working my ass off on that show, by third season, they were writing episodes for me specifically. I got to work with another Academy Award nominee. I've had the opportunity to work with some real legends in my 20 years in this business, and it really gives you confidence to kind of work with anybody when you've been blessed in that way. But there are many different acting styles, and people are very different, regardless of the fact that they're actors. And it can be challenging at times working with different people. But that's the name of the game.
Well, Devil in Ohio, it's by the way, it's on Netflix. I should say that it is just an amazingly deep and thrilling series. I mean, it's scary as hell too.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that's so unsettling that why people are so attracted to it also is that it's based on real events.
Yeah.
So that's always an interesting aspect of a story, right? Kind of when you're like, wow, it just gives it a different level of legitimacy, knowing that this was based on real events.
Exactly. Do you have a checklist that you kind of deal with when you're looking at a script, saying, okay, it has to feel this way, or it has to, move that character to a certain point?
You know, I'm a big reader like you are, Tony, and I would argue that most actors are. We have to read scripts. We read scripts constantly. And if you've been in the business for any amount of time, I would say that most actors are really quite discerning when whether a script is working early on or not. And you should know within the first 20 pages. If you don't know by then and it's not working and it's not feeling good, then it may not be a strong script. That said, not many of us have the luxury of just turning down things that I'm definitely not at that point. I've done some projects that, the writing wasn't great. There were holes here and there, but they were big projects. They were offering to pay me a lot of money, and I knew other actors involved. Hey, man, any actor will tell you also that sometimes those are the best projects you'll ever do.
You also got to work with one of my dear, dear friends, Ali Larder, in The Last Victim, and with
You're
Ron
friends with
Perlman.
Ali. Yeah, she's awesome.
She is, as a human being, she is just like an angel.
Isn't she? She's really astounding. It's like she oozes charisma. But her energy is so consistent. Like she's such a fantastic listener. When you talk to her, you realize that right away she's genuine in that way. Ali should be a politician. If she wanted to like, if she wanted to switch careers at any point, she'd be an incredible politician. She's a fantastic listener. She's really funny. She's sharp and witty. She's a dedicated mother and wife and homemaker and a strong woman and intelligent and just represents so many different causes. You can't keep up with how busy she is on social media. Like I don't know how she juggles it all. She seems really, really she's a powerhouse in that way.
And she's kind. I mean, there is this wonderful aura about some of the people that you work with, that they're just kind people.
Yeah, which is fantastic to see, especially with someone who's been in the business as long as Ali has. And as a woman, it's much more challenging as a female in this business. It's starting to come around. There's some really positive changes happening for women, and it's a positive thing. But yeah, to maintain that consistency and character, and as you said, kindness after this many years in a very, very difficult business is really astounding.
Are you gonna hopefully hop behind a camera and direct at any time?
Absolutely, yeah. It's always been a dream of mine, and I'm working towards that. I've written a couple scripts myself. I'm working on a third one right now, but I'm just not quite shopping one around, but I'm trying to. It just needs another pass by someone I really trust, and once that's done, I'm going to I'm going to start shopping it around, and I would hope to direct this one actually.
And now that Daniel Day-Lewis has retired and you're the best actor in the world, what do you do for relaxation and fun? Do you work out? Do you hike, bike, cook?
I do it all, man. I'm I've always had a love of martial arts. I'm a passionate hobbyist in Muay Thai and boxing. I love exercising like that. I'm looking forward to getting back to that. I've been off for a while, but I'm really looking forward to training again and getting back and sparring and just doing that. It brings me a lot of joy in my life. There's no workout like it, but I also enjoy the outdoors a lot. I'm an avid snowboarder and an outdoorsman. I grew up in northern Canada, and I get back to the Yukon at least once a year, and I get out on the land, and it's off grid. There's no power. There's no cell phone, and I actually just recently came back from a wonderful trip up there, and it's just one of the most grounding and beautiful experiences for me. I really, really, really enjoy it.
Well, if you find yourself in Utah, just we'll get together. I'll buy you a cup of Joe, and we'll just sit and chat.
I'd love to do it. Get me invited back to that
Fan X.
Yeah, the wonderful convention you guys have there. I did it many years ago, and it was just wonderful.
Tahmoh, thank you so much. You are one of my favorite conversations.
Fantastic, Tony. Be well. Blessings to you and your family. Talk soon.
Blessings back to you, and have a wonderful, wonderful night tonight.